Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. This morning, we're hanging out on the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds, getting you ready for the Wisconsin State Fair presented by U.S. Cellular, happening July 31st through August 10th. My final guest today is the board director of the Wisconsin Farmers Union, and he's chair of the Grain Committee, Mr. Michael Slattery. How are you?
Very well.
Appreciate you being here, and you drove quite a way to get here to the fairgrounds today. So where exactly do you live in Wisconsin?
About 18 miles northwest of Manitowoc, 25 miles southeast of Green Bay.
All right, so you made it here, and I'm so happy. So you can tell us more about the Wisconsin Farmers Union, who you represent, and what are some of the things that you do?
Okay, the Wisconsin Farmers Union has roughly around 1,700 members in the state. We have associate members as well as full members. The vast majority are full members. And we basically do three things. We focus on education, education of farmers, education of the general public on issues related to farming, and education of our youth. And I would say of all the groups that I belong to, the Farmers Union is the only one that has really active and many young people participating in farming. The second thing that we do is cooperation. And cooperation, the Farmers Union was started in 1930, and it played a major role, for example, in the U.S. Getting, for example, the farm credit system, telephone cooperatives, grain cooperatives, utility cooperatives, which very few exist today, but at the time of that stage of development, it played a key role. And so we foster cooperatives today as well, and I will talk a little bit more about that later. Third thing we do is legislation. We're very active in lobbying both at the state level as well as the national level for farmer and rural interests. And what sort of sets us apart from other farm groups is we focus primarily on small and mid-scale farming. And we have very many CSAs, community-supported agriculture members, as well as organic farmers that belong to our organization and are very active in it.
Good stuff, and I thought it was so important to have you here today because really we look forward to a lot of the fun, but agriculture is a huge aspect of what the Wisconsin State Fair is all about, and a lot of times as city dwellers take for granted the hard work that the farmers do and really the huge difference that it makes as far as the economic impact it has on the state of Wisconsin. So looking forward to learning more about what it is you do, again, within the Wisconsin Farmers Union as we go along. There are a few issues that you're working on right now that are considered maybe at the top of your priority list, and one of those is having an emphasis on local food hubs with farmers and co-ops actually supplying food to grocers, etc. So talk a little bit about that.
Okay, beginning 3 years ago or 2 years ago, we started investing in and helping develop two food hubs. One is the Fifth Seasons Food Hub in Vernon on the western part of the state, which is very successful. There are not only farmers in it, there are dairies, and there are small meat packers in it, small butchers.
Okay.
And the buyers of those, which are hospitals and universities, and schools of high schools, etc. They are also members of the co-op, as well as the logistics, the trucking company.
Okay.
The second one that we've invested in very heavily is out of Madison, Wisconsin, and we've just expanded. We have a large warehouse with cooling. We now have 27 farmers that belong to it, and we are shipping our product directly from the farmer through the warehouse to Milwaukee. So a large amount is coming to Milwaukee, Madison, and Chicago, and those are the markets that we are targeting. And that brings a value added to our farmers rather than just selling into an open market where they have no competitive advantage. This gives them a competitive advantage and adds a little bit higher profit to their bottom line.
Okay, very interesting. Another thing that's considered a priority is groundwater related to high capacity wells and pollution being something that you're very much concerned with.
Yeah, so water is a right of people to have. I mean, we cannot live without water. And we're facing increasing problems in 2 or 3 different ways in the state of Wisconsin. For example, up close to where I live in Kewanee and Dorr, there are many large dairies up there, and the groundwater is being polluted with nitrates and phosphates as well as E. coli. And supposedly in Kewanee, there are 1/3 of the wells that are now polluted and cannot be used.
Wow.
Other issues in the state for these high capacity wells relate to like frac sand mining, et cetera, as well as irrigation in the central sands area. If a large farmer or for example, a frac sand mine is just taking an exorbitant amount of water out of the ground, that means that all the neighbors in those rural areas, their wells become depleted, their pumps wear out, it's an added cost to them, they either have to drill deeper or some sort of remuneration has to be provided to them. So this groundwater issue is a key issue that is coming in Wisconsin as well as throughout the U.S. I mean, because of the importance of water.
Wow. I want to know, like, from your perspective, what does the Wisconsin State Fair mean to you, being a part of the Farmers Union and all of the people that you represent? What is all of this in a nutshell?
Coming from a farm and having grown up on a farm, and the whole atmosphere is changing. Why? Because probably 98% of your populace now lives in urban areas and are not involved in farming. But for farming, and what the fair means, is agriculture. And agriculture is the cultivation of everything related to fields and livestock and food. And so the fair is the celebration of life and the celebration of food. Just like we saw in the previous segment on the cream puffs. I mean, something of delight that, you know, brings joy to ourselves and makes our taste buds just relish. And so the fair for me is the livestock, the horticulture, the fruits, the vegetables, everything related to to food and the production of it. That's the celebration that I enjoy.
Yes, and that is what this is all about. So finally, I just wanted to kind of get your perspective. You have a foundation that's tied to the Wisconsin Farmers Union, and whenever you talk about a foundation, you're talking about maybe making grants available to individuals and things of that nature. So fill us in on that.
Okay, the foundation was started in the mid-1990s, and it was started for the purpose of providing a funding source for education. And for example, every year we give out more than $20,000 in grants for organizations or for activities that related to food development, food processing, etc. The second part of it is we have a camp on Lake Wissota out near Chippewa Falls, and there are hundreds, probably around 400 youth come to that camp every summer in 7 or 8 sessions for training in cooperatives, for the enjoyment of the beauty and the nature around them, and just the celebration of youth. And so the foundation heavily funds that activity.
Good stuff. So you do have a website where people can get more information on any of the things that you've talked about and all the other things that involve the Wisconsin Farmers Union. What is that address?
It's the WisconsinFarmersUnion.com or WFU.com.
Real easy to remember. And we have to find out from you. I talked to the Fairs of the Fair earlier, and you have to fill in the blank for me as well. So when at the Wisconsin State Fair, I have to see what animal?
Beef cattle.
Beef cattle. And why is that?
Because I grew up raising Angus, and until 2 years ago, we raised Holstein steers, and our Holstein steers were just as nutritious. I mean, I had an 84 to 92% prime choice. The yields were high, and just great animals. So I love livestock.
Good stuff. And the one food you have to have before you leave here?
cream puffs, and Wisconsin brats.
Okay, well, we got a cream puff for you right here today, so stay close, all right? Thank you for your time. Michael Slattery is the board director of the Wisconsin Farmers Union, and that is going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Don't forget, the Wisconsin State Fair presented by U.S. Cellular is happening July 31st through August 10th here at Wisconsin State Fair Park. Log on to wistatefair.com for all the details, and I thank you for watching and hope you join us again next week as we take another look at our issues, Milwaukee. Have a great day.